Hi, this is Art Fromm with Team Sales Development. Welcome to the SOS for D365 App Overview. The SOS for D365 app implements the Sales Opportunity Snapshot methodology throughout the entire life cycle of an engagement. The opportunity owner uses SOS for D365 to document and qualify the opportunity, set competitive strategy, develop a value proposition, analyze the decision process, and drive the deal to successful close. The SOS opportunity information can then be used to support client success, consumption, expansion, and renewal. One client documented a 16-point increase in win rate from 58% to 74% and generated a 22% increase in bookings in the first 2 years using the SOS methodology and tool. We'll start in the native D365 environment. What you're looking at is the out-of-the-box, boring, text-based fill-in-the-blank fields that most salespeople use, sometimes begrudgingly, but which sales management needs for funnel and pipeline management. The SOS for D365 app is accessed from the opportunity pull-down menu right here. The first thing you'll notice is that SOS for D365 app is embedded inside of the Dynamics environment as part of the opportunity record. This is important because when you're using it, you're already in the CRM system and it allows you to share what you know with your team. If you're a manager, team member, or opportunity owner, you'll have direct access to all of the information about the opportunity, ensuring accurate and up-to-date information for reporting purposes, pipeline management, and other key aspects of the sales ecosystem. There are 5 main components of the sales opportunity snapshot: the snapshot, competitive strategy, value proposition, action plan, and the influence map. I'll briefly introduce each component to you from the snapshot, and then we'll go into greater detail. And if you'd like to pursue further, you can contact us to obtain more details and learn how to implement the SOS methodology and app in your D365 system to benefit your sales team. First, let's look at the sales opportunity snapshot. This is where you'll document the information about the opportunity, qualify it, and ensure that it's worth pursuing and that you're positioned to win, or qualify out of the opportunity if it's not suitable. The snapshot consists of 9 key criteria that are divided into 3 sections, along with 9 corresponding boxes at the bottom of the snapshot page. Early in the engagement, when conducting discovery, the 9 boxes are used to document information and make notes about what is known or suspected. Each criterion is evaluated as you learn more about the opportunity. Once you confirm that any of the criteria are, first of all, confirmed and 100% known, and secondly, favorable to you and your company, that segment of the snapshot is colored in. This is an important construct, as the colored segments indicate solidly confirmed and aligned criteria, whereas the segments that are not colored in indicate areas that need more work or may be at risk of derailing the opportunity. The graphical nature of the snapshot makes it easy to understand, share, and collaborate. Let's look closer at the 9 criteria. The color coding is strictly for reference purposes, as is the numbering system between the boxes at the bottom, the chart on the left, and the snapshot where the slices are colored in. For the first section, the question we're evaluating is whether we should pursue the opportunity. This is about the client and whether they have a serious enough situation to address, compelling them to act. The most important aspect of this section is number 3. Without a reason to act, the client won't be interested in moving forward. The next 3 criteria of the snapshot consist of the viability of your solution, your ability to deliver and compete, and the value that the client perceives in your solution. Number 6, the business value, is very important for this section because it doesn't matter how great your solution is if there's no perceived value. We will revisit this section in a minute when we delve deeper into the competitive strategy and the value proposition portions of the SOS app. The third section of the snapshot is all about whether you can win the opportunity based on the relationships that you have with the stakeholders, who's who in the zoo and how they make decisions. This is where you will evaluate your ability to influence the decision process, have a relationship with key executives, and that you know and are aligned with what we call the relevant executive. We're going to explore number 7 further when we get to the influence map in a couple of minutes. Let me spend a minute talking about the relevant executive because this is a very important part of the methodology. The relevant executive is defined as the stakeholder who has the most to gain as a result of the implementation of the solution or the most to lose. Why is this significant? Because if they are the one that's the most affected, that means that they have skin in the game. It means they will fight for what they want, helping you to sell your solution internally. Or they could be a blocker if they're backing an alternative solution. They can be our coach, help us navigate the lay of the land, and are one of the main stakeholders we want to convince to exert their influence with others. The relevant executive is the most important criterion in this section. To impact the decision process, we need to know the lay of the land. But if we don't have a relationship with the key stakeholders, such as the relevant executive, then the deal may not move forward. You'll see more about the decision process and the relevant executive in a minute when we look at the influence map. One last thing before we move on. As the opportunity progresses through the sales stages of your sales process, the SOS for D365 app saves the information about the snapshot at each stage of the sales process, including which criteria are favorable and confirmed, as well as the detailed information about each criterion. Currently, as you can see, the opportunity is in the develop stage. If we go back to the previous stage, you'll see that it was in the qualification stage. Now you can view what the snapshot looked like, along with the corresponding information about each of the criterion at the same time. The importance of this is that you can compare your progress against the previous stage, which is especially helpful for managers to coach and for you collectively to understand what moves the deal forward or hinders progress. All stage changes are saved for further analysis if desired using business intelligence tools. In summary, the snapshot allows you to document and track the status of the opportunity interoperating with the other components of the app. Let's look at each of them now. We'll start with the action plan. From this tab, you can begin to record various actions that will be required. You'll document them here, indicating when they're due, who it's assigned to, and confirming when those actions are complete. Some of the actions shown here include a reference back to the criteria number on the snapshot so that you know, for example, here initially we needed to meet with Jack to spec out the needs, and therefore you can see that it's now complete, and so that helped us to fulfill item number 1, the business initiative. Documenting the actions for the opportunity is critical to ensure that they're tracked and executed. A key part of the second criterion was the idea of the viability of the solution. And this brings us to the competitive strategy tab. In the competitive strategy tab, we can further explore your solution and the alternatives. Here you can document the solution you're proposing, the strengths and the weaknesses of your solution, as well as information about the alternatives that the client is considering. And then you can select the appropriate competitive strategy. Notice that there may be not only named competitors, such as factory floor solutions, but there also might be other alternatives, such as do nothing or a homegrown solution that the client is considering, which is what often we're competing against more than not. For each of these alternatives, you can note what they're offering, the strengths and weaknesses, and what their probable strategy is. This will allow you to choose the appropriate counter strategy and plan actions accordingly. One of the key capabilities of the SOS for D365 app is the ability to list other opportunities with which the named competitor was involved. You simply select the named competitor, either from here or from the competitor list, and it will allow you to see all of the opportunities that this competitor has appeared on. So what we're looking at here is the out-of-the-box competitor record, and by selecting competitor information on SOS opportunities, what you'll see is this opportunity, which we're working on right here. And you can also see the factors that were involved with our opportunity for this competitor. And then you'll be able to see other opportunities that this competitor was involved with, including the solution they were proposing, strengths, weaknesses, etc. The importance of this is that this will allow you to quickly see the other opportunities the competitor was involved with, find out who the salesperson was for that particular opportunity, and you can find out how it went, what they did, what worked, what didn't work, and how they differentiated the solution from the competitors, allowing you to choose a winning opportunity strategy. Let's return back to the snapshot. That was number 4, the competitive strategy. Let's take a closer look at number 6, the business value of our solution. The business value of the solution is so important that we've dedicated a whole tab to the value that you're proposing. This is a fill-in-the-blank field, but it's very important to document this mantra, as it will be a main talking point for the client engagement. This is where you document the value that your client or prospect is getting from you. Notice the way that this is written, especially the quantification of the business value that the client is going to be receiving. For example, the improvement in customer satisfaction and the reduction in rework costs. Having it here as part of the opportunity record ensures that everyone on the team knows our value proposition to ensure that we deliver on that promise. The value proposition is related again to criterion number 6. Finally, if we take a look a little bit closer at our ability to impact the client's decision process, number 7, we need to know what the decision process is. You would document and analyze the decision process on the influence map. What you're looking at here is the influence map, which allows you to know who's who in the zoo, who you need to influence, and who can influence others on your behalf. This is very important because without understanding who can wield the influence, you won't know how to engineer the influence in your favor, and you'll just be relying on hope, and we know that hope is not a strategy. The influence map allows you to lay out all of the departments and business units on the outer perimeter and the stakeholders that are within those areas. This alone is important because you may find that you're mainly engaged in one area. Missing a key area such as a P&L or an internal customer that's benefiting from what you're providing could make or break the deal. Designating the departments is just one of 7 different dimensions for each stakeholder that's represented on the influence map. The second aspect of the influence map are the concentric rings. These represent informal influence, the way that things are done behind the scenes, regardless of job title or department. The farther out a stakeholder is shown on the map, the less informal influence that they have. The closer to the middle they are shown, the more influence they have, which can work for you or against you. For example, Pat, who is the procurement director, needs to sign off on the project. But notice that Pat is on the periphery, which means that Pat has less influence over the choice of the solution, mainly because they're in procurement and more of a rubber stamp stakeholder in this case. As the COO CFO, Jack is the stakeholder who is mostly affected by the outcome of the solution and therefore is shown in the middle because he will be highly influential in getting his business initiative addressed. The lines indicate the flow of influence for the opportunity. Also notice that Jack has an orange glow around his title block. This is because Jack had been designated the relevant executive to influence others, including influencing Pat, to sign off on the project, even to the point of potentially telling Pat that he'll agree with your price because he sees the value of your solution. To summarize, the concentric circles represent informal influence. Having a relationship with those closer to the middle means you're talking with people that are of high influence and they can help you move the deal forward. While the concentric rings represent informal influence, another dimension is the person's job title, which is designated here or in the title block right here. This is an indicator of their organizational position and their formal power or authority. Additionally, each stakeholder can be designated with up to 2 formal roles in the decision-making process. This represents their specific role on this project. Jack happens to be a decision maker for the overall business decision and is also an owner of the solution, which means that Jack is going to be reaping the benefits, living with and implementing the solution. Other dimensions for each stakeholder include the relationship status from sponsor to competitive sponsor, the past contact from none to extensive, whether we need to meet the stakeholder, and whether the access is blocked. All of these are available in the dashboard for each individual stakeholder. And they're represented on the icon block, which when selected will display what the parameters are in the dashboard. This allows everyone to easily see, share, and collaborate on the various people's roles and the amount of influence that they have. As with the competitors, where you could see the opportunities on which they've been involved, you can do the same for a contact. First, we'll go to the out-of-the-box contact record, either by using this modify capability on the influence map or going directly to the contact list in the dynamic system. Then we'll select SOS influence. Here's the opportunity we're working on, and as you can see, this indicates what we just saw on the influence map. Jack is the relevant executive, a decision maker, a owner, supporter, and we have extensive contact with them. This also shows the other projects that Jack either has been involved with or are involved with currently. This is important because it allows you to see their involvement with the other opportunities, their role, their involvement, and the level of contact and relationship that we have for that particular opportunity. We can also find who the owner of the opportunity is and talk with that owner to understand more about what it was like working with that stakeholder. All of this relates back to our ability to impact the client's decision process. That completes our walkthrough of the SOS for D365 app. The SOS methodology and app allows you, from the beginning of the engagement, to document all aspects of the opportunity, use the snapshot to determine if it's favorable to you, and if so, proceed through to close, implementation, and client success, or if not, allows you to exit quickly so that you don't waste your time or the client's time. SOS helps you understand the competitive landscape and plan a strategy to win. SOS also helps you navigate the lay of the land and engineer influence in your favor, which will allow you to go broader and deeper into the other departments or find others who would benefit from your solution, therefore growing the size of the opportunity. In conclusion, the SOS methodology supported by the SOS for D365 app will allow you to increase revenue, win rate, and deal size while providing a much more impactful solution for your client by addressing their needs and showing the true value that you're providing. That's the SOS for D365 App Overview. There's more information on the Team Sales Development webpage. I look forward to helping you and your team achieve great success. Until then, this is Art from. Thanks for watching.